Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to Psychology Every Day. Today, I had the absolute honor for Talking Thursday to be talking to Todd Hutchings about sports psychology, arm wrestling psychology, and training methodology. Todd Hutchings is a very smart guy. He's a mechanical engineer and extremely successful in the sport of arm wrestling. He started out at 35 years old, and despite this, he became one of the very tip top best in the world, and he is known for his absolutely insane strength as well as his training methodology, which is super interesting. Besides that, he's a very funny guy, and I had a great time shooting this podcast, and I hope you will have a great time watching it. Let's get into it.
Can do press double forward.
Oh, this match is Toddzilla is gonna win this rematch.
So psychologists talk about like latent factors and archetypes. Maybe you've heard of sort of how intelligence is latent but not measurable directly. And they are sort of the hidden structures of behavior. As an engineer, how would you describe the hidden structures of a great arm wrestler?
Oh, it would be, I think, I've never been asked this question before, so I probably got to think out loud while I answer it.
That's great. That's just what I want.
It would be those people who can like solve puzzles quickly, who can adapt and and take in information, and then that would be a really good one because all arm wrestlers can get strong. They've got their whole training season to get strong. John Brzezinski was one of the best ones where you could train with John. All of us who have ever practiced with John thought we could beat him. But John in practice was just a strong arm wrestling guy. But John in competition knew how to win events. He knew when to give up a match. He knew, like in a tournament, he knew when it was best to go into the loser's bracket and come back. But in a super match, he knew which matches to drop. He could develop attacks and defenses like on the fly, and he was really good at it. I'm not. I pretty much have to practice everything first. I'm not gonna bring out something new in a competition. John could go, you know what? I think this might work, and then figure out how to win. So I don't know what that skill's called, but that would be a great one if you want to win a lot.
Yeah. It's sort of survival of the fittest, adaptability, perhaps.
Adaptability would be a good one. John was really good at that.
Yeah. Well, he's a perfect example, I think, of someone that has a super fluid press, more so than when it comes to sort of the mental state of competition. Of course, arm wrestling, I do believe, is in some ways the most sort of challenging mental sport, because not only is it sort of against another person, but it's also like so intense, right?
Yeah.
So far, I've identified sort of 4 different favorite states for people, and the most normal one, I do believe, is favoriting being confident. But you also have people that are sort of high affect, like Eric Bugenhagen, and a lot of powerlifters, of course. You have the super calm, focused people, like the Berglund family in powerlifting. And then in arm wrestling, I've heard the sort of unique answer of fear. mostly from Travis, but also a little bit of Devon. What do you most prefer to be in state-wise?
When I was young, I wanted to be the hyper powerlifting, like rage puller.
Yeah.
But that stopped working as the level got up. You know, that works good in a tournament. It doesn't work good in a super match where you're going to see the same guys. So in a super match, you need to be more of the calm, cerebral, calculating kind.
Example.
But if you're too calm, you're too slow off the go, you don't have that acceleration, that initial hit. So I'm constantly balancing between the powerlifting guy and the chess player.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know? So I guess probably what boxers or fighters have to do, I would guess would
yeah,
be, you know, I don't know how they prepare mentally, but I think it'd have to be like that because you got to develop the power, you got to develop the force. So a high adrenaline rush will help, but if you're not thinking, you know, it ain't going to work. So I would think MMA, you know, unlike a power lifter, which they just need to generate maximum acceleration, I think an MMA fighter, a boxer, maybe a quarterback in football, in American football, you know, some of those highly skilled basketball players, maybe, I don't know.
yeah. It makes sense because, like, rage is very good for sort of deleting nervousness, I guess, but it
Yeah,
also turns off your brain.
right.
And in powerlifting, you don't need a brain. I do find it
Powerlifting, you can
fascinating.
probably do it by instinct. You
Yeah,
know, you could probably practice that lift enough
yeah,
that it all becomes second nature. You don't have to concentrate on it too much, and you
yeah,
can focus on force development, where you have to have some cognitive ability available to you if you're reacting to somebody,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So
They have,
you can't practice your match against an opponent you never met before, but you know you can practice a deadlift
yeah,
1,000 times if you wanted. You know, you
yeah,
can get
yeah,
your form perfect to
yeah,
where even if you're a little tired or slow or sick, your form's going to be good. But if that deadlift bar could fight back, you probably can't practice it. You
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So, like if they had to deadlift like live animals, that
yeah, yeah,
sport would be completely different. But I
yeah,
would
yeah.
love to watch, you know,
Oh yes,
yeah, the
whoever can
grown
catch,
horse deadlift or something.
yeah,
You know?
whoever can pick up the biggest oiled up pig, right?
Yeah, yeah. You have to catch the pig and then you got to put
Yeah,
it overhead. That's a
yeah, yeah.
weightlifting event I would watch.
Yeah, that is true strength for sure. Yeah, there's actually data on sort of speed, uh, decision making, and processing because we only have so much bandwidth, right?
Yeah,
So everything that you have to think about. So for an arm wrestler, like if you have to actually think about cupping, that adds, I think it's 0.15 seconds to every sort of decision, which is why, you know, newbies are always just super slow.
incredibly slow. Yeah, they never feel they actually got into the match.
Yeah, because they have a lag of like 0.6 seconds and then it's just over.
Yeah, I
They
think
all,
it would have to be like fighters or something where you've sparred enough
yeah,
that if you feel something, you react to it without
yeah,
thinking about it.
yeah,
So they need to be more competing on an instinct reaction level than an actual, oh, if he does this, I'm going to, you know, you can't
yeah.
go through a decision tree, you
No,
know,
no,
because
no.
the whole match is half a second long. So you
Yeah, yeah.
really,
Yeah, what was it Mike Tyson said? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Something like
yeah.
that.
And he was punching people in the mouth a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
You'd think they'd learn after the first one. So.
yeah, yeah. Some people learn slow, I guess.
I'm one of them. I'm one of those slow learners.
Yeah, but you have on the other hand, you have this sort of insane grind, consistency, work ethic, which is very unusual in arm wrestling, in
Yeah.
my opinion, because a lot of people just do it well, they love doing it, and it's very different from your sort of systematic approach, which is very close to how I trained when I was most active. I believe the only sort of thing that separated our training was that instead of volume day, I did slow day, and it takes very high amounts of conscientiousness and consistency to be able to train like that, because it's not fun.
No, you got to constantly be setting new records to stay motivated. You can't just
Yeah,
go in there and grind out the same weight week after week. You'll
yeah,
burn
exactly.
out.
Yeah, and for me, the biggest bummer of it all was that instead of PR day, you have pulling day, right? So you don't,
Okay.
at least for me, I was never able to, set the banging PRs because I always planned that for the tournament or the super match or whatever. Do you have sort of, and this is a recurring question that I ask to literally every athlete, do you have any mind tricks or mental cues?
No tricks are cute. What I do is I don't pull tournaments anymore. So when I was preparing for a tournament, it's completely different than a super match. In a super match, I now have some knowledge what the opponent's most likely going to do. If he's pulling that, so I can prepare both an offense and a defense to that, visualize it enough that I really don't have to think too much about it. And all I really have to do is concentrate on go,
Yeah.
Leaving early enough. And then if I feel something different, if they pull out something completely off the wall, it usually surprises me,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I usually can't react to it. But you get better the more experience you get,
Yeah.
because there's really not that many super versatile arm wrestlers out there. They're all going to fall into, one or two categories, and most arm wrestlers can do one thing well and two or three things not worth a shit. So
Yeah.
you really only have to worry about their one thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The arm wrestlers that can do two or three things very well, they're the most dangerous.
Yeah. And, no matter sort of what level you are, people get on that level due to something, right? So if you face someone that has as a good top roll as you, but they also have an equally good hook and a press, then you're probably not going to face each other because that person is going to be a lot better than you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's only natural that people are sort of silver bullets, I guess.
Yeah. So you can always, but you can concentrate on your speed and your force.
Yeah.
So if you meet somebody with equal skills, then your work pays off.
Yeah. Yeah. And the day before and the day of the super match, what is important to you, and what's really bad if it does anything bother you?
As long as I make weight, I don't hang out with the arm wrestlers. I'm pretty secluded.
Mm.
So I distance myself from everybody. So not a lot bothers me. So I can practice. I can visualize. I can go over in my head. I can watch film. As long as I make weight, everything's fine up until I walk out. Then I get really nervous. So
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
by the time I get on stage, I've probably mentally had that match hundreds of times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they say that visualizing something, if you are good at it and vividly, makes up for about 10% of actually doing it. So visualizing a match 100 times would be like actually doing it 10 times,
yeah.
which is a pretty amazing tool that not a lot of people use. But you seem
I'm
to,
surprised it's only 10% because I would think visualization is like way up there. Like if you can't visualize yourself doing it, I really don't think you can. So I don't, but it's very important. I tell it to all my newbies,
yeah,
everybody that ever asks for advice. That's what I tell them.
yeah. Yeah, well, 10% is a lot if you can use it additively, right? So you just do it 10 times and it's
Yeah.
like doing it once. What are the input-output relationships of arm wrestling? Of course, you have training and diet, but is there other things, and what's most beneficial?
Well, I would say, I think skill level you pick up, so I wouldn't rank that in the top three. I would think reaction time and force development would be the top two because your skill level will come just with experience. So you should be focused on, and then that ability to react.
Yeah.
You know, if you think someone's top rolling, they start pressing. So I would think that would be your number one output. That's what you would want to master first, then force development, then reaction time speed. So that's what you would want out. To go into that, you would need proper practice, proper training, and not just going in there and doing your pet move and beating up the new people, but making other people act like what your future opponent's going to do and trick you, and let them cheat the grip, let them jump go, let them elbow follow, make it the worst possible match you can in practice. So you're arm wrestling the worst possible version of the guy.
Yeah.
And losing at the beginning, so you can measure that. Then your training, I don't know if you can actually improve your reaction time. I think you could probably practice it, but I don't think you can actually increase the speed that the brain sees something and the body reacts to it. I think that's fixed, but I don't know.
Yeah, you would just need tons and tons of volume. And like you say, active practice, not shit practice, right?
Yeah. It's real easy to go in there and, beat everybody who's easy to beat the hook and then top roll everybody who's got no top roll defense.
Yeah, I feel like back to John, because have you heard about the proximal development zone?
Mm-mm.
It's like a 3-circle. It's actually for children in the beginning, but it's the green circle is in the inside is things you can do easily, and then you have the orange zone, things you can barely do or with guidance, and then you have the red zone, which is things that you can't do. And what you're talking about here is a perfect representation, I think, of staying in the orange zone, which is where you develop the most. And
John will when you practice with John will put you in your best position, and he'll put him in. So everybody who practices with John thinks they can beat him because they go, man, I had John right here in my power all day long.
Yeah.
Then that's practice John. Then you go see competition John, and you don't get anywhere near that zone anymore. John keeps you in the absolute worst part of your game ever because John practiced his bad part while you practiced your best part.
He sort of practices his worst, weakest links, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, like, let's say you are the sort of best guy in your club and you just do a sharp top roll on everyone, then you're barely even going to get warmed up, right? It's going to disconnect people.
And all your teammates are getting better and better at dealing with the top roller.
Yeah. I actually picked up an idea from wrestling that I tried. And basically, think king of the table, but instead it's the dictator. So the guy stays, even if he loses, right?
Okay.
So even if you're the strongest guy, eventually you're going to start cracking a little bit. And then people are going to look for your sort of weakest links. The only problem was that doing this for 10 minutes means your arm was just messed up for a month, basically.
Yeah. I had a team who did a version of that where you would stay on the table till you lost like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, that sounds like a good sort of medium.
Yeah. Yeah, and once you lose twice or three times, then you're out, and then whoever beats you the second or third time gets
Yeah,
up there, and so they assume because not everybody can do everything. So I kind of forced the person who's staying on the table to eat a press, eat a hook, eat a top
yeah,
roll, or
yeah,
a tall guy, a short guy, that sort of thing.
yeah. Yeah, and if you're the strongest guy, which is a problem for a lot of people, then maybe your pronation will never break. But if you get like 4 guys taking turns, then eventually it's going to soften up a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, because I mean, if you're Levon or Vitali, it's got to be hard to
Yeah,
find practice partner.
yeah, yeah. We had a huge problem with that in our club because we got a guy that just super heavyweight with basketball hands and a vicious pronation even before he started working out. And within like a year, people had to start using both their hands and stuff like that. And it's problematic for sure.
Yeah.
Because then you don't develop your skill properly, right?
And you're really not, and neither is he,
Yeah, exactly.
because he's not feeling another giant hand
Yeah,
with lots of reach. He's feeling two little hands with no
yeah,
reach.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And he never sort of gets backed into a corner either where he
right.
has to adapt. I think that's sort of adapted.
Yeah.
The
It's
English,
like he's training with Cicely Tyson and he has to go fight Mike Tyson.
yeah, yeah. I think that's one of the main reasons why Travis got so good, because he started out as a kid, right? So he had
Yeah.
to sort of use every perfect manner.
Wow. And he was in like an arm wrestling ground zero in West Virginia. His
Yeah,
dad had a bar called the Big Arm Bar, and it was
yeah,
set up all around arm wrestling. Arm
yeah,
wrestling was really big in his town. So, there's 50, 60 people in his town that were all good arm wrestlers that you
yeah,
really never heard of,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
That's pretty insane sort of preconditions, I guess.
Yeah.
What's your favorite moment so far in arm wrestling?
Huh. My favorite moment. It was probably my second or third tournament. This was back in like 2000. I'd only been in the sport for a year, but I got pictures of Dave Patton, who's a big famous American arm wrestler, Cobra Rhodes, and John Brezink, all holding my kids, and my youngest kid was still in diapers. He was he was about a year old, somewhere around 1 to 1.5 years old, and John's holding him, then Dave Patton, then Cobra Rhodes. So I met all these world-class famous arm wrestlers in one tournament, and I got pictures of all of them holding my kids.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, actually.
The kid that John was holding is like 25 years old now.
Yeah.
So,
Does he arm wrestle? Did he sort of get blessed by?
no, they did as kids, up until about 8, 9 years old, then they
Yeah,
stopped.
yeah. Let's
But
see.
I didn't start till I was 35, so
Yeah,
he's still got 10 years
yeah,
before he has to start.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to be sort of, if you, I don't know, multiply with some formula, sort of starting age and world position, the number one in that aspect. Okay, so these have been the sort of general sports psychology questions, and now this is more, I guess, for the specific arm wrestling and fitness crowd. I wanted to ask you, of course, and this is something that I could ask you literally 1,000 questions about, but this is about the Westside training methodology in arm wrestling. For those of you that don't know, Westside was a very prevalent sort of powerlifting movement that very much changed how people trained for powerlifting, and they were very successful. And it's sort of a volume day a max strength day and a speed day. My first question is sort of, how do you weigh the volume day versus table time in sort of tear and wear on your arm?
Oh, the table time is way harder on my arms than anything in the gym. I will lift at the same intensity up until the time I have to leave for a competition, but I'll stop practicing 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
Practice gives me those toothache pains in my elbows, my shoulders, my arms. Lifting never does. Lifting just makes me tired,
Mm.
but I never leave the gym going, ow, that hurts. Why do I do this?
Yeah.
I leave practice about 2/3 of the time going, geez, I've got to stop doing this. This hurts.
Yeah, because the reason that I ask is because the other arm wrestlers that I've talked to, sorry, just need some water, explain that one of the most difficult things about arm wrestling specifically is sort of managing your recovery and injuries. So that is why I wonder sort of, well,
Yeah.
not as an aggressive question, but why don't you cut out the volume day for more table time?
I don't count table time as training. I count table time as if it's training, it's endurance, but it's not increasing your strength or your speed. To me, training time is a way of it's skills. It's like coordination. It's trying to hook a top roller. It's trying to top roll the. I don't use it as if I had to cut out one aspect of training and still compete, I would cut out table time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. I have 3 practices a week. And right now they're all focused on trying to get my hand and my stopping a top roller skills better. So I go to practice, grip them differently, see what works that way, and then I just use that to come back and change the actual gym training where I can actually measure. Am I getting stronger? Is my endurance going up? I wish I could measure speed. I'm sure you can in the big gyms, but I train at home, so I got no way of gauging my own reaction time on things.
I actually tried that for a while with band bench and sort of set up a high quality camera and just counted the frames, but I'm not this passionate. It takes too much effort.
Yeah.
So 3 times a week plus training, that's quite insane conditioning. Do you sort of how are you able to withstand that sort of?
Well, first I think you acclimate to it, but when I first started training, I remember watching the Olympics as a kid, and whenever they did an in-depth expose on one of those athletes, they were always like training 5 and 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
And if you watch documentaries on even like pro athletes today, they have their own practice, their own strength training, and then the really, really good people have a separate coach and mentor. So I don't think I'm training as hard as an actual professional athlete does. I'm just training harder than arm wrestlers do, who think they can do 3 workouts a week plus practice and somehow be better than all these people who are training 12 times a week. I'm not sure. I don't think you're going to catch up to the good kids doing less work. So I think you have to outwork everybody.
I often ask athletes sort of what separates the elites from the sort of hobbyists, and the most normal answer, or the most common answer I get, is sort of, what are you like when things are going poorly? Can you dance in the rain? But I have a sort of more specific line where athletes or elite athletes, when they ask the question, how much, they don't care about diminishing returns because, of course, 4 workouts per week, per workout, it gives you a lot more than 20. But the elite athletes, this is so common, right? In the protein question, they're like, how much protein? And the bodybuilders, they are like at 500 grams of protein each. And they know that per gram, it's not, but
Gram 500 did a lot less than Gram 10 did.
yeah.
But
But
it
did
but it
something.
didn't go negative.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know? So
Exactly.
it might be approaching the line, but as long as it's getting closer.
Yeah. Yeah, to me that separates the sort of elite from the hobbyist, because once you're that dedicated and obsessed that you start to sort of not care about whatever it is that you're sacrificing to do 20 workouts a week or whatever, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, because if you're doing 20 and you get fatigued, you can skip one.
Yeah.
Oh wow, you lost 5% of your training.
Yeah.
If you're doing 3 and you skipped one, you lost 33%.
Yeah, and it's very fascinating to me. Have you seen the old, was it Bulgarian Olympic lifting movies?
I haven't seen it, but Westside talks extensively about the Bulgarian method, so
Yeah.
I'm aware of how the Bulgarian weightlifters train, but I didn't see the movies you were talking about.
Yeah, there's a documentary showing them sort of maxing out at 3 separate occasions for 6 days a week or something.
Yeah.
Obviously Devon at some point did this, but it's one thing to do it with rising back pressure and another to do it with sort of snatch.
And that's exactly right. That's why I think arm wrestlers can train more, because we're using our arms and we're lifting 40 kilograms.
Yeah.
Power lifters are using their entire body and they're lifting 500 kilograms. So the toll on the body, I'm going to recover, from a reverse curl workout way quicker than anybody's going to recover from a deadlifting workout.
Yeah.
I can finish my arm wrestling workout and go ride a bike. They can't finish their deadlifting workout and walk to the refrigerator.
Yeah, that's an insane difference, I guess. But talking about work that doesn't, cause so much fatigue, of course, in the Westside model, I do believe the GPP, General Physical Preparedness, was based on sled work because it was only concentric work. Have you tried anything like that for arm wrestling?
I'm constantly searching for the Westside equivalents to arm wrestling. I used to do sleds and chains and stuff and pull them with my hands, either like hammer curl them and rise them. Right now I do a lot of farmer walk type stuff, which is kind of like an equivalent to the sled work for Westside. But it's kind of the comparison to Westside with arm wrestling always gets a little hinky, because for them, their GPP is, like you said, sleds and stuff. But for us, it's like anything in the gym, because our SPP, the closest we can get is practice, where for them, their SPP is their actual lifts. So the equivalency breaks down a little. At least I can't make a clear correlation between the two things. But I am currently, this year, I used to do a lot of that low intensity volume work. I skipped it for a while and concentrated on just max days. Now I'm doing a lot more of the GPP, the endurance work, trying to build up capacity so I can do heavier lifts. I don't have I'm trying very hard to say this is the Westside system. And this is how it applies to arm wrestling, but the lines aren't straight. They're all. I think these two things are related,
Yeah.
I'm going to try it for 6 months and then I'll let you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess the problem with the concept is that general physical preparedness is not the same thing as massive concentric volume. And I guess GPP is just doing overhead press, general strength or whatever. But I do find that sort of massive concentric volume to be a fascinating sort of idea. And I did try it for a little bit, but I don't think I did it nearly enough.
Yeah. I split it up between, I'll do farmer carries with different weights a couple of days a week, and then pull-ups on a really fat pull-up bar.
Yeah.
And I cycle them back and forth. And of course it works at first. One of the quotes Louis Simmons wrote in his book was, everything works, but nothing works forever. So I think if you just keep changing things, you can keep getting better.
Yeah, I guess. But also, it's sort of, I thought of it like a model like this, where you have hypertrophy and atrophy in everything. So, of course, if you are horribly, horribly out of shape, then burpees will sort of get you to a certain, perhaps more muscular level. But comparing that to the holy grail of building muscle, after a while, it's not going to break the atrophy. So you're just going to stagnate that way. And I guess that's a problem as well with doing stuff that's not the best, I guess.
Yeah. It's of course, if you're arm wrestling at a high level, you're not worried about getting into shape anymore. You're trying to squeeze, a few more pounds out of your max effort day any way you can. And what I'm finding out is, I'm not hitting new PRs as regularly as I was.
Yeah.
But I know I'm in better shape, because I know I can, there's just certain things I can do more of. So my capacity for volume is a lot better.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking that maybe every month or so you act like the Bulgarians and you max out like 8 times in 1 week. You max out on 8 different exercises in 1 week, and then you spend the next 2 weeks recovering from it. But
maybe
I'm almost thinking something like that might work. It didn't work for the power lifters or the Olympic lifters, probably because it was so grueling they would just burn out. But I think arm wrestlers could probably recover from something like that.
Yeah.
So, it might be you might have to have 2 or 3 max days in a week.
Didn't Ryan Bowen do that and gained like 44%, or what was it? Or was that under your training?
A 44% gain is pretty amazing. No matter where you started, if you got 44% stronger.
Yeah.
I don't think you would be asking me about it. I think the whole world would know.
Yeah, I remember he printed a shirt that said like 44% or whatever it was.
44% is a lot. That's pushing, that's like pushing a 500-pound deadlift to what? 700-800 pounds?
Yeah. Well, depends on how you count, I guess. If you do a new exercise and you have a 16-kilo riser in a specific movement, and then you get
exactly
4%.
Yeah. Well, I stopped training my squat for about 8 or 9 years, and I just started back up again. My squat went up 44%.
Yeah.
It's still 2 plates less than the little girls I see on the Westside videos, but it's still 44% for me.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the interesting correlations I found between Jean's training and an experiment they did with a sort of special Smith squat machine, where it would push down in a specific rate no matter what you did, and then no matter how hard you pressed, it would only go up so and so much. And I haven't been able to find this, but I know I've read the original study, and over a period of like 8 weeks, you had sort of an average squat go up from like something like 440 pounds to 490 pounds, or perhaps even more than that. So much so that people would injure themselves due to their rapidly newfound strength after the experiment was done. And of course, this is a huge pain in the ass to get done in a powerlifting manner. For a bench press, you would have chains in the roof with a traverse or whatever. But in arm wrestling, it's actually quite easy to do with someone using two hands, right?
Yeah.
But it's very
If you want to, you could do it with a flywheel and a speed controlled flywheel or something.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I haven't seen that study. I don't know if I'd want to grab a hold of something that's going to pull me open at a certain speed, no matter what you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, if they did it with a squat, then I will do it with my
That
arm.
would be even worse. You know? I mean,
It's insane. You talked about
hydraulics could do that, right? Like those buckets that raise and lower on a fork truck will come down at that speed, and it really doesn't matter if I'm under it or not. It's coming down at that speed.
That was the sort of machine that they built, and I imagine they had thick safety bars at the bottom or whatever. But
I'm not so sure. They probably had no safety bars. That's why nobody sells that machine.
Yeah, probably. Well, studies back in the day, no ethics. You talked about this a little bit earlier, and I didn't want to sort of interrupt you. Of course, you are the epitome, is that how you say it, of lane strength. Sort of in your groove, I would dare say that within a reasonable weight class, there's no one that can really stop you if you get your sort of side pressure lane. But then, sort of, does that, it almost seems to me that someone that has very strong specific lane strength, almost per definition, has worse fluidity. What do you think about that?
Probably if they specialize in training that one move and left other things open. The other thing that happens is if you get really, really good, once you're known for being good in a particular lane, people just do everything they can to keep you out of that lane.
Yeah.
You know?
I see you sometimes sort of getting stuck outside of the lane, but then eventually if you win, you just grow frustrated and hit anyway, and it sort of translates. But it does seem to me that because I used to pull a lot like you and got so annoyed ending up sort of like this and not being able to hit, because unlike you, I could never hit without my cup, but sort of very well with it. So then instead I started to only train the things that gave me the fluid options to hit sideways instead. So basically up like this, right? You talked a lot about the disadvantages of having a short arm, especially in WAAL. Is that still true, do you believe, with normal pads?
Yeah, I think height and arm and reach is probably more it's probably a larger effect than just body weight.
Yeah.
I think two people the same height and a grossly disproportionate body weight, that's a more equal match than two people the same weight and one's just a lot taller. Long arms, tall people give you several advantages. One, they can generate rise in height from almost anywhere.
Yeah.
They have the reach such that it's very hard to pin them because, if my arm's at this angle and here's the pad, right? Yeah. Well, if my arm's at a longer angle and I pull it, my hand's just higher.
Yeah.
And like people like Vitali, for crying out loud, man, you know, the Hermes Vitali match was a good one because Hermes a very, very good posting top roller.
Yeah.
And he's all the way back, all the way curled up at the back of the elbow pad, doing everything he can to slip.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Vitali's got a hold of him.
Yeah.
And Vitali's only a third of the way forward on his pad, meaning Vitali could have probably left his elbow on the pad, reached all the way across the table, and grabbed Hermes here. You know? So there's just advantages to tall people. Tall people tend to have bigger hands.
Yeah.
So if I grip you and my fingers don't even come across that first tendon, and you grip me and you've got control of my first two fingers, you know, I got to be 30, 40% stronger than you do just to overcome that leverage advantage.
Yeah.
You know, Brian Shaw, in one of his videos, he grabbed two 45-pound plates by the hub and picked up both on each hand. I can pick up 45 pounds with my hand, but I cannot pick it up, you know, with my fingertips. You know, when I grab it, it's like that. When he grabs it, his fingers are almost closed, you know, because they go around more. So there's just advantages to height. So, and then when you get into middleweights pulling super heavyweights, it's almost a whole different sport at that time because, you know, what works between two middleweights doesn't work if a middleweight's pulling a super heavyweight.
Yeah.
And probably vice versa. The super heavyweight pulling a middleweight, his arm has to come down. He's grabbing all the way around the, you know, he's got to pull his big fat hands down under the knuckle.
Yeah.
So when you get those big weight disparities, it changes the sport a little. So it's probably hard to compare. Pound for pound analysis probably doesn't make sense for those reasons.
Yeah, for me, I love to pull super matches, which in Sweden is very limited. But I got good enough that I started to go against heavier people, and it was so annoying how true what you said was, because against bigger, heavier people, it would be wildly more effective to do a flop press off the go each time, but then you completely fry your cup and your arm.
Yeah. And once you start that flopper, you don't have a whole lot of escape hatches. Once you commit to that, you're probably stuck with it. You know, once in the press, you're not transitioning to nothing. You can transition to the press is a diode. It only goes one direction. You know, once you're in there, that door closes behind you and you can't get out. So you better be fast.
Yeah. And I would do that in tournaments as well. And people would, everyone knew that I was never going to win a tournament because my arm would be fried soon, right? But people would hate to go against me in the first round because they would be ripped up as well. Just completely ripped open like this. It's not good.
So that's where John would know, just to let you win the first round.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. So the last question, sorry if my grammar is wrong. Is there any knowledge or wisdom that you brought with you from arm wrestling into life?
There are things I've learned through arm wrestling. I don't know if I've applied them. The biggest one is when you set your goals are almost always too damn low. You know, I think you need to set your goals higher. And there might be a danger of setting goals that are just absolutely unattainable. Like, it doesn't matter how much I want it. I will never be a professional basketball player.
Yeah.
But to be the best in the world at something, or to be, I don't know, worth 100 times your current net worth or something like that, almost all of those are achievable if you set them with some sort of plan in mind. But when I started out, both as an engineer and as an arm wrestler, my goals were I passed my initial goals by so much. I feel silly that they were even goals. It's
Yeah.
like I go, oh my God, I could have been so much better had I just thought I could be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
even
anyways, that's what I tell the new people coming in.
yeah.
Because they're all, especially that they want to win this tournament, win that
Yeah.
tournament. They're worried about people living within 50 miles of them. Well, he's ranked this. And I go, dude, man, you got to be looking at who in the world do you need to beat in 10 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have a 10-year plan now, you don't
Yeah.
give a shit about losing the tournament next year, because it's a 10-year journey. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not like high school or college where you've got 4 years to play. You can play
Yeah.
in arm wrestling for 20 or 30
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, you just gotta have the sort of mental resilience, I guess, to take the hits to your ego of not being at the moon. But if you aim for the stars, you might end up in the
Yeah.
treetops, right?
Well, had I wanted to go to the moon,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, I want to be an astronaut. What do astronauts do? Astronauts are primarily engineers, and they're
Yeah.
primarily engineers from these schools that did this. I mean,
Yeah.
if I was in high school, that could have been a logical goal for me. My
Yeah.
problem was I went into school. I came out of high school without a career path. I decided to be an engineer like 2 weeks before high school graduation. And then they go, okay, what kind of engineer do you want to be? I don't know. Where do you want to go? None of this stuff I knew. And I
Yeah.
said, well,
Yeah.
I want to work on racing boats. So
Yeah.
I decided
Yeah.
to. Never touched a racing boat in my life. But that was my goal when I
Yeah.
went into engineering.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's a good goal, I think. Because, like you said with the basketball thing, I actually heard a great quote from some cowboy. It was that, and all powerlifters know how the journey, the progression is the most fun thing. Even if you die on the road, then that's fine, right? And like 50 Cent said, get rich or die trying.
yeah, dying on the road is better than never making it to the
Yeah,
road.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for doing this interview. Had a great time, and I wish
It was
you.
fun. You asked me some questions nobody's ever. I usually shudder at these podcasts because I get
Yeah.
asked the same questions all the time.
Yeah.
But you actually asked ones I never thought of, so it was good. You did a good job.
Thank you so much. I hope the viewers as well liked it. And yeah, have a fantastic day. And yeah, good
All
luck with
right.
your next
Thank
match.
you. And I leave this on for 5 minutes while it uploads.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop
Okay.
the recording now. Yeah. Okay. Bye, viewers.
Bye now. Bye, kids.